But yeah, as you mentioned with technology, I think with young people, it's sort of unavoidable. They're gonna be using it. But I think they're growing up in an age now where they're going to be on technology regardless. So how can we create a positive influence on their phone? Can it be they're on their phone and going down to the park with their friends to do a session, or can they be setting their phone up and doing an exercise or a session with us, a body weight session, for example? Paddy and I shot some sessions together last week at Icon Park, and I guess there's some benefits there from technology because this gamification world's taking over, and even on the app, for example, there's a gamification thing because they're gonna use it, they're gonna want to use it, but how can we get them outside, or how can we get them active and have a positive influence that way?
Let's just go and see the world and just show them what it really means to live life golden. Yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden.
Tom, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Rocky, mate. Good to be here.
Started already.
Rock or Rocky? What do you want?
Rock. Critter will love that.
You gotta love it. You gotta tell the story now.
All right. So, long story short,
it's every Derby day.
Derby day. A little bit messy. Middle name's Rock. No one really knew that for a long time. I tried to keep it under wraps.
I didn't know that. I've only learned that today.
Yeah.
I just thought every time this horse Rock was running, everyone said, Trey, you're up next, and you'd do the warm-up, but it's actually a middle name.
Yeah. It definitely comes out at the worst of times. I try to keep it under wraps, but middle name's Rock.
I like it, mate. Unique. Good point of difference.
Critter got a hold of it, and then the rest is history.
That's good, mate. I'd be proud of that name.
Thanks for coming on, brother. I really appreciate it. We're here to talk about ball magnets and the journey that you're on. Obviously, you're a professional athlete, so you're playing AFL footy. For the Americans, that's it's the crazy game that you see. People on each other's shoulders and the hard hits and so on. But what I'll get you to do, man, is give us an elevator pitch of what ball magnets is. Okay. So you want the background story, I guess, or? We'll do elevator pitch first. So we'll kind of go, okay, well, what is ball magnets? And then, you can go into how it started. Okay, so what is ball magnets? If I was to describe ball magnets to someone I'd never met before, and especially to the Americans, because every time I've gone to America, they're always like, and you explain the game to them, they're like, you guys are crazy. Like, you don't wear pads. Like, they can't get their head around it. So it's very different for them. But basically what it is, or what it's becoming, is it's a AFL football platform. So what's on there, there's AFL skills sessions, there's fitness sessions such as, body weight, weights training, Pilates, yoga, and it's all run by the players. So the players that play the game, and I guess the ones that have the knowledge and have lived it throughout their career, they're the ones that are educating. And then there's this entertaining sort of component that's coming into it where we're trying to show our personality so that we can become, I guess, relatable, but also so that fans and, male, female, kids, parents get to see our personalities. Because I think when we speak to media, naturally we're very robotic. In this environment, for example, I can sort of be myself, and we're trying to do that and open ourselves up a little bit more. So that's it in a nutshell. The partners are myself, Paddy Cripps, Lockie Neal, and Aaron Phillips. But also, we've had so many guests on the app. So Toby Green, Dylan Shield, Jack Viney, Taylor Adams, Josh Dunkley, Adam Trelaw, shot with Dyson Heppel and Zach Merritt last week. So I guess, having these relationships with coming through the ranks and the drafting process with all these guys, they're all such good guys. And the AFLW players as well. Last week we had Gabby Pound, Ash Riddell, Chloe Malloy's coming on soon. So, yeah, it's good. Well, I think we're just trying to, give everyone access to the players. Yeah, I would imagine it's a it's a movement that a lot of people would actually love to get around. It's. I'll let you kind of tell the origin story, but it's obviously filling a hole in the market, but it's also something that we probably never thought we would go through with COVID and correct. I know even just like some of my mates that play local, how in and out that season was, but you think about, I couldn't imagine being 9 years old and having to have 2 years off footy or and kind of that broken season. That's what I lived for, as a kid, and I'm sure you did as well. So yeah, correct. Well, I sort of how the idea originated. It was funny how it sort of came about, but obviously, COVID hit, unfortunately, and I was actually down at my junior club, Ashburton Junior Footy Club, and Camberwell Sharks, another team in the area, and
that was more from this idea of just giving kids and aspiring players access to players, because I reflect on when I was a kid, and I was very lucky because my dad was a player, and he finished his career at Carlton and then became a coach. So I was always around the players. Anthony Koutafidis was my favourite player at the time.
Yeah.
And I lived and grew up in the Carlton change rooms, really, from probably when I was 5 years old till about, I'm going to say about 13. So I was had a very privileged childhood in the fact that, you know, I was always around players and you're in awe of them, they're your idols. So I guess I tried to emulate that and take that down to a few junior clubs in the area, just sort of give up my time just as a good thing to do. And COVID hit, and as you said, it's you know, it would have been so tough, and it still would be tough for all those young kids who didn't get to play footy. It's their passion, it's their release, it's their social time. And I guess, you know, when COVID did hit, it was about, you know, I spoke to a few of the parents, and they're like, can you still help our kids? Can you coach them? They love the interaction. They love what they're learning, because obviously we've got the knowledge. It's our job. And we came up with the idea of, well, how can we create like an online platform? And then, you know, that snowballed, I guess, and it came to an idea of creating an app. And I had no idea how to create an app. I'm not the best with technology, but a few of the parents who, you know, within their network and had some contacts, and they sort of helped me, put me on my path. And here we are a year in with this app, and the technology's built, and it's working really efficiently. And now it's all about the content, and yeah, that's still a work in progress, but it's going really well.
Yeah, it's actually, you know, there is a lot of negativity around technology, right? And obviously the role it can play in a child's growth and so on. But I think this is a really good example of how this kind of flips the script.
Correct.
You know, and especially, you know, in the future as well. Like, I would imagine that even internationally at some point, you know, when we're trying to bring people into the game internationally as well, you know, that would play it could play such a major role, and probably already is at some level as well. Yeah,
well, I think you know, when you think big and have that big picture idea, I think, you know, the reason we also did call it Ball Magnets was with the idea of that, who knows, maybe we could expand into other sports one day, whether it be basketball, cricket, other things. So you never know where these things can take you. But yeah, like we said before, it's funny how these ideas originate, and sometimes you don't have the intention of it really going anywhere. But yeah, I never thought I'd be running a business in the middle of a tech business. So, but yeah, as you mentioned with technology, I think with, you know, young people, it's sort of unavoidable. They're gonna be using it. You know, however old we are, I'm 28. Not sure about you guys. You're older than me, I think.
28
Rock,
as well,
28. Yeah. But I think, you know, they're growing up in an age now where they're going to be on technology regardless. So how can we create a positive influence, you know, on their phone? Can it be they're on their phone and, you know, going down to the park with their friends to do a session, or can they be, you know, setting their phone up and doing an exercise or a session with us, a body weight session, for example? Paddy and I shot some sessions together last week at Icon Park, and I guess there's some benefits there from technology because, you know, this gamification world's taking over, and even on the app, for example, there's a gamification thing because, you know, they're gonna use it, they're gonna want to use it, but how can we get them outside, or how can we get them active and have a positive influence that way?
I think, you know, you're definitely right. It's technology's, it's here, it's coming,
it's not going anywhere, is it?
It's not slowing down.
It's taking over the world.
Yeah, but I think that's the key, right? It's like, how can we use this for positive influence to help people progress and so on? Because that's what it does. You know, like if I think about the role of technology across the globe, you know, let's just talk in general terms, it does give accessibility to people. Correct. You know, and I guess it's the same here. Is how can you know, or how are you guys giving accessibility to kids, especially when they don't have that access? And usually that's where these kind of ideas spawn from. It's usually there's a problem and someone comes in and tries to fix it. I'm pretty interested to hear about the process then. So you got the idea, it kind of come to your head, and then you know, what's the process from there, especially as a professional athlete? You know, so you're obviously, you probably get a month off a year, month and a half.
Yeah, normally about 2 months at the end of every season now. So
2 months. So you know, I'd imagine it's not like you're spending 100% of your time on it, right? So what's the process? And you know, you obviously had the idea, and then you mentioned that you reached out to a few different players and stuff. Do you want to talk about the process and maybe some of the intricacies? Sure.
Yeah. So I guess when the idea originated in it would have been the start of or midway through the 2020 season. So obviously the AFL, like the rest of the world, rest of Australia, the rest of Australia at that time went into lockdown. So we were the same as everyone else. The season was on hold, and I did have a lot of time on my hands, as we all did. And I thought, well, how can I dedicate this time to something positive and not just let this time pass? So I guess that's where I'm kind of a very hands-on person and trying to be very productive with my time and always trying to improve, whether it be my footy or away from footy. So that was a new idea, and I guess that obsessive improvement side came out of me, and that's how the idea was created. And then in terms of the day-to-day component, I think that's something that I'm going to have to manage now that footy's starting to wind up. We've started our pre-season, and as games approach, footy is the number one priority. That's my that's my job. It's what I get paid to do, and that's my passion. So I have a responsibility to teammates, club, to put everything into that, and I'm confident that Hawthorn will find our way back up the ladder soon. And I guess this is one of those things where they always talk to us, or the AFL and the AFLPA, about having a balanced life. And if I'm being honest with myself, I probably haven't had that in the past because I've been so dedicated and driven, and that's it's worked for me, and it's helped me become a consistent player at the top level. But at some point, if you just keep going flat out, you're going to burn out. So I think having a balanced life, it's taken me 10 years. So I speak to the younger guys now. I'm like, talk about balance. I'm like, I can't really talk. It took me 10 years to figure it out. But I already feel re-energized. And even second half of last season, I sort of got back to my best form. And I think it was on the back of finding, this balance and finding a release outside of footy and something you can really sink your teeth into and invest in. And then, you're doing it for a few hours and you just realise you've forgotten about footy for that time. You're like, wow, that's what you need. That's where you re-energise and you come back to footy and you're ready to go again. So I think it can only be a positive thing. And, there's a lot of players out there that do have that balance and there's still a fair few that don't. So I guess I'm fortunate that 10 years in, I've finally found something.
Yeah, I think that, I feel like that's a lot with anything though, right? Like, even myself in business, like you do become obsessive over things and sometimes you do need, the podcast for me was a side project at the start, and I was obsessive over my business. I work. I reckon I could easily work 7 days a week, easily, and it just wouldn't bother me. But you're right, you do burn out, or you do get obsessive, and then it becomes everything, and then that's when obviously. Even just mentally, it can become pretty taxing, and you can over-obsess.
When it takes, what's the word? When it takes a step ahead of your happiness, and we all get in those ruts where you're working too hard. But when you look at life as a whole, and I think if you put happiness at number one, you all want to work hard and do well. That should be somewhere up there. But if you're working too hard, which I've definitely been guilty of before, it's that fine balance, isn't it? Because to be successful at anything, you need to work hard. So you need to almost overshoot and work too hard to know where to pull it back to, if that makes sense.
100%.
So if you're not working hard enough, then you're not going to be successful. You need to work hard enough so that you know how to be successful, and then you need to bring that pressure gauge, or whatever you want to call it, slightly back to prioritise happiness. So that's sort of how I look at it.
It's like it's the whole building skills things, right? It's like once you have the skill, it's like autonomy. It kind of can govern itself, and it can be almost automatic. And then once you get to that point, you can probably start to spend time on other things. I think it's a really good point. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned as a business owner then, right? So I'm sure that it hasn't been all smooth sailing. It never is. What are some of the major lessons you've learned as a business owner so far? Yeah,
so many. Only a year in and have learnt so much, and that's only going to be a good thing for, I guess, the business moving forward and myself. But probably the main one, which we touched off briefly off air, but it's that piece around delegation. So, very hands-on person, like a bit of a perfectionist, I would say. So like everything done perfectly. But I think, when your workload gets out of control, you need to be able to trust and delegate people. And, for example, in our team, there's, certain people that are better with handling the social media, certain people that are better at handling the marketing, certain people with the finance component. And I think, having the ability to trust these people, because I'm very fortunate within our business, have Adam Hilton, who owns a digital marketing agency in Richmond, and Stuart Harker, who was a global partner at PwC, and obviously the players, and then some smaller equity shareholders who are investors and are involved, and their network's amazing, and just putting their trust in these people because, whether it's a hit to the ego or not, but they're actually better at what they do than you are. So I think being across it and having an understanding and learning is really good, but delegating is so important because now I can focus on, okay, what's going to be best for these boys and girls, or the teenagers or the coaches and parents who also have the app. What's going to be the best for them? So I sort of focus on the content and then delegate the rest.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? And you don't realize it early on, but you kind of learn these little lessons along the way where you're like, I probably shouldn't be doing that. There's probably someone else, and it's good for yourself as well. Like I know for me, you got to kind of do the grunt work to get it to where it needs to get. It's like this, this podcast. Like, I've been managing the socials for 4 months.
Yeah.
And tell you what, I'm so glad to hand that across, by the way.
Yeah.
But, it's like once you finally get into, like, the person who's running the socials now gets done what I would get done in a day in like an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a prime lesson. Yeah, definitely. Delegation, it's absolutely everything.
Yeah.
How do you guys go working together? So you obviously work with, Paddy Cripps, Lockie Neal, and a few others. How do you guys go working together on that?
No, really well. We've obviously got a really strong off-field connection, and that's probably stemmed from, I guess, our junior days and coming through the ranks together. I lived in WA when I was younger, and my housemate, really good family friend with Paddy, and now our mums are friends. And Lockie, I'm trying to remember how Lockie and I met. We've just sort of always kept in touch through coming through the ranks, like very similar type players, and I think we've always bounced ideas off each other, and I just sort of presented them both with this idea and they loved it. Then there's Aaron Phillips, who an old teammate of mine, Sean Burgoyne, who's unfortunately retired, but one of the greats of the game, and his sister-in-law is Erin, so his wife Amy, her sister is Erin, and the introduction happened there, and we filmed some content at Waverley Park together last year, and with Erin, I guess just built that relationship. She's amazing. Like she's so good, like as an athlete, but as a person as well. The way she presents and carries herself, it's like she's such a good person to have in the app, and especially in the AFLW world where the game's growing rapidly. Like there's going to be more girls probably playing in than boys, I reckon, in the future. Like even
there's
when
probably
I go
no greater role model as well.
Oh, correct. She's the best, one of the best best people to do it, and have her on the team is amazing because. We want to create this inclusive environment on the app where it's 50-50 male, female. Obviously, in history, predominantly it's been a male sport, but it's male and female, which I think is great. And I think the girls coming through now, when they start at say 5 years old, because they're going to be playing from that age till hopefully when they're 30, if that's what they want to do, if that's their passion, they're going to be superstars. Because unfortunately. The girls I played with at juniors, you'd get to under 15s, then it was getting sort of too rough, as they would say, and they weren't allowed to play. So I think Aaron's going to be really important for us in, pushing that next wave of girls through if that's what they want to do. It's
so important, isn't it? Like these kind of things and not just technology, but, developmental programs that can give those opportunities. We've talked quite a bit about equality, like we had an artist on, same thing, like just the lack of opportunity, and even, in the workplace and these kind of things. But it is these kind of programs or just creating as much awareness about it as we can. And with the app, you're obviously providing an opportunity for that development as well, which will help, bring more awareness to the game from the women's perspective as well, which is it's been great to see over the last couple of years as well. Like you can you can definitely see the development in the way the game's played. Yeah, not just the development, but just how keen the girls are. Like they're so even when I go down and now that we're allowed to go back to the local clubs, I went to Port Melbourne, their women's team. They're not even in the VFL or AFL. They were just a local team, and I just went down to training because always trying to you want to give back, and I think they were appreciative of that, but not so much the skill level. That's obviously very important, but just how keen and eager they are. Like they love the game, and they should be given equal opportunity. And it's so good to see how keen they are, and they're actually, I think, more keen than the boys. Like they're asking more questions. They want to be the best they can be. Not that it's about making the top level, because that's not what Ball Magnets is about either. It's being the best you can be, and whether that's getting from the B team to your A team at your local club, or whether it's just about enjoying your footy or, making the first at your school team, whatever it might be. And, with girls footy growing so much and there being so many more competitions out there, it's just great to see how involved they want to be. 100%. I mean, it's great to see. You know, I mean, I haven't played footy in a while now, but from
just horse racing for you.
Just you know what, mate? I have no interest on it apart from the days that we go to the races, which they're great days.
They are great days.
Yeah, awesome. Especially what I was going to say, especially from an external point of view, like seeing the development there as well. You know, because like I think about it this way, and like I might have a daughter one day, and if my daughter wants to play football and that's kind of her passion, you know, like you think about how many people. My partner played football, you know, like up until the age of 15, and you're exactly right. Yeah. Like, you know, how many that was probably taken away from people. Yeah. And they didn't even, you know, like as you said, not even just going to the top level, but just actually having the opportunity to play beyond the age of 15. Yeah. Is crazy to think that was actually a thing, you know.
It's bizarre, isn't it? It's crazy. Even when you go to, like, I don't go to many AFL games now, but even the times when I do go and there's a crowd there, you only have to look around you and it feels like, I don't know what the numbers would be, but half the crowd's female anyway. So whether they're playing or not, but just being involved in the game, like we have, you know, female staff at our club. We've got a lot of female supporters that are always down supporting us at training. So, you know, a lot of the females we have on the app as well are obviously up and coming girls and females, but also parents of kids who want to learn and coaches who are female. And yeah, I think just that whole inclusive piece of just females in general. It's funny that we even have to have this conversation, but that's weird, historically how the world's been. It's how footy's been, a very male dominant sport. So, you know, it's great to see where everything's heading. Yeah, 100%.
We're going to switch gears a little bit now. What about from your I guess your own point of view, and you know, you're obviously a professional athlete playing AFL. What about from a mindset perspective of what are you going to do after AFL? You know, like did that play a role in starting the business? Is that something that plays on your mind a little bit?
Yeah. To be honest with you, if I was answering this question honestly, I would if this didn't happen, I've got no idea what I would do post footy. I'm obviously got a contract for another few years, and then I hope to play beyond that. Hopefully, got a good 5 or 6 years plus ahead of me. But yeah, I'll you know, it's funny how this idea came about, because I'd be worried, like getting towards the end of my career, and I feel like you know, the club are very supportive of helping players prepare, but you obviously need to find a passion, and that doesn't just happen overnight. And you know, I've been fortunate enough to find one, and something that I can, you know, prepare for the next hopefully 5+ years, and you know, create something you know, where people want to go to for whatever it may be, whether it's you know, their hit of footy, or obviously on the app we're going to throw in a diet component and a mental skills component, a meditation, mindfulness component, so an overall well-being space as well as footy. So I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I'm kind of glad that, you know, I'm able to, you know, express things that I'm passionate about, which I think is, you know, health and well-being, and being the best version of yourself and things like that, through an app, which obviously, you know, with technology, as you mentioned, can get so much more reach with the scale you can get. So yeah, I'm very fortunate that I found something. But you know, if ball magnets didn't happen, and you know, hopefully it does go really well, it's looking like it will. It's looking really promising. But if it wasn't to happen, I actually don't know. I don't know. I'm studying sport and exercise science, but I've sort of deferred that. Maybe something in the footy world, but you know, coaching could be another option, but not really sure. Yeah,
it's one of those things, I think, like you said at the start, you're so focused on football. Is it?
Yeah, literally.
I was going to say, you're so focused on footy, right, at the start, and becoming the best you possibly can. I just find it interesting that, or I'm sure that there's, at some point, you kind of really do have to start thinking about what you're going to do after footy, because, you know, it's not a forever thing. It's,
no way.
What do you probably got, you know, 10 years if you're lucky, you know, or if you kind of get that far, and then, you know, beyond that it could be, you know, 12 to 15. So it's definitely, I would imagine, you know, I don't know the stats here in Australia, but I know the stats over in the US, and a lot, you know, I think it's like 60% of people end up broke, or NFL players end up broke, and I would imagine that it'd be something that can creep up on you at some stage.
Yeah, well, I have heard of that stat. And another one in the AFL world is the average career, which you wouldn't know about, is I think it's between 2 and 3 years. So there's so many players that are in the club for 1 year and they're gone. Like the turnover is at each club roughly 10 per year, so 18 clubs. So roughly, I don't know, around about 180 players are in and out. And so I'm not sure what the percentage is, but it's something like between I'd be guessing, but maybe around 5% for if you do play over 10 years. Like, it's rare. And often you look at, players around the league and you think, Luke Hodge, what an awesome career. Like, every player does this. Buddy Franklin, there's not many of them around. Like, to get to 300 games especially, like, that's very rare. But if you're playing 200, it's also extremely rare. So there's a lot of stories out there untold of, people that are just in there for the average time. And as you mentioned, like, they're out on their feet looking for a job, and it goes really quick. So,
especially for something you dedicate a lot of your life to
literally,
as well. It's like that's the business side of footy that you don't see.
So ruthless.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
So, what about the? Because I mean, it's a similar topic, but the financial side as well. Like, we were kind of talking before, but as an 18-year-old. You're coming into a high-paying job for being, 18 or even just a young person. And to be honest, man, like, me at 18, I don't even know what I would have done with that kind of money. But I'd be interested to hear about that side of it with, coming in and the challenges that come with, not only that, but coming into a high-pressure situation as well, like the business of footy.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where having, a good support network outside of footy, but also getting the correct advice and, having a player manager or a financial advisor who really cares and you can trust is so important because, 18, you're so young. Like, you're not meant to know what to do. No. I definitely didn't. I've always been pretty good at, having some kind of awareness as what you should and shouldn't do in terms of how to save and how to set yourself up for life. But, so many players, I guess, come in and, it's not their fault. They just don't know. They get, I guess, given this money and, I want to buy this and I want to buy that.
I honestly don't know what I would do at 18 years of age. Like, I'm thinking back to what I was doing and it's not, like, it's just like, the money would be gone.
One of my best mates, so I won't name him, but one of my best mates, we have a good laugh about this. So we got our first or second paychecks early when I was playing at the Swans, and I can't remember what the number was, but he's gone out and he's bought a barbecue, he's bought DJ decks, he bought a few other things, like it might have been a deposit on a car, and this was in the first week. So you get paid monthly, and so he's out of money. And so we're shouting him dinners and things, and he's had to go to the welfare manager at the club and said, "I'm out. Like, can I get a few pays in advance?" And he's like, "Mate, where's your money going?" He had a great setup. Don't get me wrong, had a great setup at home. Had everything. Great house for a good party, barbecue, decks, all that stuff. But
that's what I mean. Like,
that was good education. But they're true stories everywhere. And you spoke about the American thing, like that's real. So I guess having a support network and a financial advisor to almost teach you how to budget and how to save and how to spend.
I would assume like it's probably come a long way as well in terms of the support systems within the clubs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as I said, even I reckon I didn't work it out until I was 23. 23, 24. Like it took me a good 5 years.
Yeah. I think that's normal.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Awesome, mate. So what we're going to do now is going to jump into quickfire. Okay. So these are kind of, I always say this, but it's like, I say short and sharp, and then like one day I said it and the guy like just stopped talking like mid-sentence, and I was like, okay. So it's not short and sharp, but it's just like, we're going to ask kind of some really, I would say like simple questions, and you can just give an answer to it, however you like.
One word, one sentence, something like that?
Nah, not even. You just do what you want.
Can I say no comment ever?
No. Nah. All right, so question one piece of advice for your younger self.
Whoa. All right, good one. I like the idea of not making excuses. I don't know. I just got given that advice once, and I think I was playing junior footy and something didn't go my way, and it's just like don't make excuses. Like that was something that was controllable, something you could have been better at, and I don't know. I've always liked it.
Yeah. 100%. I think it's a necessity.
Yeah.
Like you can, because you don't get the lesson, right?
Yeah.
Like if you make an excuse, you're giving away that lesson.
Yeah. And for the people that doesn't apply to, another one which side it kind of ties into is the harder you work, the luckier you get. I think it's kind of intertwined somehow. Anyway, they're the two that I really like.
Opportunities come from hard work.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a good one. What's the biggest misconception the public has about professional athletes?
I think that people think, like, players are just normal people, right? So, like, I think people sometimes put players on a pedestal. Occasionally, I think I look at some of my teammates, high-profile teammates, and, people, insinuate that they might have an ego about them, but they're just normal people who are actually really shy and humble people. But in public, for example, like, they might get hassled and it might come across that they're rude, but it's not them at all. It's just that, they might be out for dinner with their partner and that's their time to escape, and they're getting hassled. And I don't know, I've just seen a few examples of it where, you only have to take one first impression to be like, oh, that guy's no good or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, they're normal people, and that's how they should be treated as well.
Yeah, I've seen it, like, even just like you can see it when you're out and you see someone who might be a professional athlete, and then you see just like, I reckon it would be so tough, man. Like, it would just be really, I mean, there would be obviously heaps of positives that come with it, but then there'd also be some times where it's like, it's really hard, and it would just be based on the situation. Yeah,
I think most guys are very genuine guys and would always give anyone the time of day. Yeah. It's just, I've seen it with a few teammates where they might have been caught on the wrong day in the wrong moment, and then that perception creeps in. It's not really them, but I guess in being in the public eye, that's what some of them have had to deal with.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so what advice would you give to someone who's looking to start a business?
Well, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. So I think if you have an idea, I think it has to be a passion, as well as obviously everyone wants to do well financially, but I think it doesn't become a job when it's a passion. So obviously this is your thing. You love doing what you're doing. Yeah. After chatting to you, like, this is what you love. You love your podcasts and your business you're creating. And I think it gives you a better chance of success anyway if it's something that you're really into. So I think having your work and passion intertwined is the ultimate. We get the ultimate result because you're enjoying it and, you're setting yourself up. And I think it's a really good combination.
Yeah, I always say, like, if you're going to start a business, make sure it's something that excites you.
Yep.
And usually excitement comes from passion.
Yep.
Because you're still going to work as hard.
Yeah.
You're still going to put absolutely everything you can, know, that you have into it. So you want to make sure that it's something that really excites you.
Yep.
All right, so what's the most important factor to achieving success at anything, and why?
Most important factor. Obviously, I want to say hard work, but I feel like that's a bit of a boring answer. So I'm going to try and think of something a bit more creative, because I feel like that's a given. Can you say the question again, sorry?
What's the most important factor in achieving success at anything, and why?
Achieving success at anything. I think, obviously the hard work component, but I also think it's not the most important thing, but what makes it more enjoyable, I think, is bringing other people along for the ride. So whether that be family, friends, business partners, success is always better when you can enjoy it with other people. So in footy terms, for example, like, I've been fortunate to win some individual accolades, but my most memorable moments are, the moments in a change rooms after winning a final or winning a big game, and you can enjoy it with other people. That shared bond and experience, like, humans were built for connection. So I think, bring other people along, whether you can help them take their next step, whether, they'll help you. I think just being involved in a journey with people is, I think it's pretty important.
It's a great answer.
Yeah.
I think because you experience both sides, right? Like, there's times when you feel alone on the journey, and then there's times when you're with other people, and they're the times that you remember the most.
Yeah, it's true.
And they're the funnest.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's
the days at Derby Day, the funnest. you're with others.
Journey.
You're not punting.
We're all
by
on a
yourself.
journey together. Starts at 11, finishes at.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Late.
Great. Awesome, man. So I want to say a massive thanks for coming on the show. Where can people find Ball Magnets? Where can people find out more about the business? Yeah, so it's free on the App Store. So I think, another component that came along with COVID was the financial struggle a lot of families had to deal with. So, making it free for everyone. It's on the App Store. Obviously we have, our at Ball Magnets on Instagram. That's how you can follow and keep up to date with everything, but it's free. App Store, Apple, Android. So we're just sort of keen to get everyone involved and giving them a look behind the scenes. There's a lot more really cool things coming where we're going to sort of take you into the life of an AFL player, the pros and cons, which obviously we've sort of touched on, but there's a lot that goes into the behind the scenes, and I think people will find that
that content really interesting. So there's going to be plenty coming to the app soon.
Yeah, it's really cool. I went and had a look at it today. Watched a few of the drills.
Yeah.
I think I was watching Luke Parker and a few of the Swans boys.
Yeah.
It's
Callum
great.
Mills, yeah.
It's great, man.
We should do some touch after this and text
yeah. Well, we got a nice outdoor area out there. We'll go do some drills.
Yeah.
Honestly, I had a look today and it's great, mate. So
Thanks,
you should be proud, and I think it's gonna. Not only is it a really great product, but I think it's going to make a massive difference in a lot of people's lives, especially young kids and people that are coming up through the ranks. So anybody, go download it, have a look. It really is something to behold.
I appreciate it, Rock. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
All good. For everyone listening, this is again we're kind of closing out the year at the moment. I just want to say a big thanks to all the listeners out there. It's been crazy, coming on this journey over the last 5 months. Just, like you said, a lot of the messages you get and stuff like that. So just want to say a big thanks to you guys. And we'll see you guys next year.